So if you're working hard to build backlinks, but you're starting to feel something's off, like maybe the links you're getting aren't doing your website any favors, then you're like a lot of people who are just starting out because they end up with toxic backlinks without even realizing it, which can seriously mess up your SEO. So in this episode, I'll break down the 3 signs that your backlinks might be hurting more than helping and share exactly what you can do to fix them. So if you're new here, my name's SEMRush and I've helped over 68 businesses recover from toxic backlinks to reclaim over $200,000 in lost traffic value. So let's get right into it. Number 1 is you're buying backlinks in bulk from cheap websites and services. So, you've probably seen them before where they're like, 1,000 backlinks for $50, for example. And they look really tempting, especially when you're first starting out and you've got a tight budget and you don't really see the value of backlinks. You still don't know what they are, because the promise is you spend a little to get a lot and you watch your rankings soar. But if it were that easy, then everyone would be doing it and everyone would always be on the top in front of you, right? And it's not really how Google works. So I'll explain this. So, just in a nutshell, these kinds of offers, they're red flags straight away and the fastest way to end up on Google's bad side. So, if it looks too good to be true, it is, right? So the links you're paying often come from spammy websites, irrelevant blogs, or even fake websites created just and solely to sell backlinks to you. That's it, right? So none of these links actually help your website, and instead, they really scream manipulation to Google, right? So Google's algorithm is incredibly advanced in spotting unnatural link patterns, right? They've got hundreds of engineers trying to be smarter than you and figure this out, right? And so if your website suddenly picks up hundreds or thousands of low quality backlinks overnight, it's basically like a flashing neon sign saying, I'm trying to game the system. And so when Google catches wind of that, and it will eventually, you could face really big penalties that push your website further down the search results, making it harder for potential customers to find you, right? In a nutshell. And the truth is, really, with link building, there are no shortcuts when it comes to building a strong backlink profile. So you need to focus on earning links naturally or hiring a professional link building company who knows what they're doing. And really a telltale sign with this is when you're hiring one of those companies, they will charge you like an expensive rate per link. And you know that, if it's more than $100 per link, then you know that it's probably, they know what they're doing. They're really good quality links, right? So if you think about what your audience needs and create content that solves the problem or answers their question, then you might be able to earn a link. So for example, if you run a HVAC business, you could write a helpful article on common signs your, AC needs repair before summer hits, for example. And a news website, like a local news website or community blog or forum, might find that article super useful and then link to it from their website, right? So that's kind of like an idea of how you can like naturally get a link. And that single relevant link will do far more for your SEO than 1,000 random links from unrelated websites, these really sketchy domains and platforms that say they've got high domain authority and they try to sell you on domain authority when anyone can game that as well. It's silly. So earning links naturally when you're creating amazing content ties into what we call the law of reciprocity or the reciprocity principle in psychology. And it's when you basically provide value up front, like a free useful resource like that blog or some sort of resource of any kind, people are more naturally inclined to return the favor by sharing your content to other people or linking directly to it. So it's kind of a win-win when you're doing these things, even if you're not seeing the direct returns straight away. And it takes a lot more time, right? It takes a lot more time than just clicking a buy now button on a sketchy kind of like you're buying from someone on Fiverr for a cheap rate to get all these links when they're all just bullshit links anyway. So the idea is that you need to build trust over time with Google. And so that it doesn't look sketchy, that you've suddenly got 1,000 links overnight, so that you can obviously stay on Google search and you can start attracting clients to lots of different pages on your website. Number 2 is that your backlink profile is full of low quality directories. And this is what a lot of people do when they first start out. So listing your website in directories might sound like a really easy way to rack up the backlinks. Basically, what you're thinking is more links, the better, right? It doesn't really work like that either. So with some high quality directories, like Google Business Profile and Yelp and stuff, those you can benefit from those, right? In more ways than just links. But more generic directories that are literally just created to either get money out of you, they basically convince you to join like hundreds and hundreds of directories, and a lot of link builders will like build these hundreds and hundreds of links to these directories for you. They'll create your profiles, they'll set up your username and password automatically, and they'll give it to you, and they say, hey, you've got 1,000 backlinks now, great job. But really, Google doesn't give a shit about all these. They know what a directory website is. They're usually very low quality, and sometimes, in often cases, they ignore them. So directories are actually just mainly just important for, basically with Google Business Profile, you need a directory so you can get reviews, and people expect to see a Google Business Profile for a local business like a lawyer, a plumber, a dentist, or whatever. So that you can, obviously convince that person to come to you instead of a competitor. So as you know, Google prioritizes relevance and quality above everything. So if your website is listed on a directory alongside lots of other businesses that have nothing to do with your industry, like a pet sitter, a car mechanic, a freelance designer, all on the same page, then it doesn't really help your credibility. It's kind of like one of those generic ass, directory sites that Google doesn't really care about, right? So for example, let's say that you own a med spa or a cosmetic clinic, and you're listed on a platform like Google Business Profile or Yelp. And that makes sense because people are actively searching those platforms for cosmetic clinics. But being listed on a super random low quality directory that's not even found on the search results, there's no connection to your industry, it's really not doing your website any favors, and it can do the opposite, or Google totally ignores it and you just wasted your time, really. All that opportunity cost and spending all that time and energy building those directories has been a total waste of your time, and there's been no point to it. So flooding your backlink profile with hundreds of these like weak, shitty links that are irrelevant directories makes your website look super spammy to Google, because Google collects all this data that you're getting all these links from these random directory websites. It's not just invisible. They're not just going to see that you're not manipulating the system. They will see this. So it's not about, with links, it's not about quantity. It's about quality at the end of the day. So instead of spreading yourself thin across every single directory you can find, or this bloody cheap freelancer who's like building these hundreds of links for you, instead of doing that, focus on just a handful of reputable ones that are very specific to your niche or local area, right? So if you're a lawyer, try to sign up to legal specific directories like Find Law or Avo or whatever. And those are more relevant directories that are good backlinks that can signal authority in your field, right? And that makes more sense to Google, that you're on those directories, not those generic ones, right? And tools like Hrefs or SEMRush are really great for like seeing which directories your top competitors are using, but it's not the be all end all, right? Like if they're using a lot of those generic websites as well, just ignore that. You need to basically target really high quality directories if you're ever to go on a directory, Google Business Profile, Yelp, anything to do with your industry, the specific industry directories. And that's pretty much it, so that you can show Google that your links are intentional and relevant. So number 3 is you're getting links from irrelevant or sketchy websites, which we've kind of covered already. But I want to really drive this home. So not all backlinks are good backlinks, right? So just because another website links to yours doesn't mean it's helping your SEO in any way. So links from irrelevant or low quality sites can really confuse search engines and drag your authority down, as we've kind of covered. And so it gets a little bit trickier because some of these are part of what we call private blog networks. And I mentioned this before, PBN. And basically they're designed solely to manipulate search engines. And so Google has been cracking down on PBNs for years, for a long time. And any links from these types of websites really just seriously damage your SEO. You don't want to be on them. And so before accepting a link from any website, you need to make sure you're taking a step back and assess its legitimacy with those tools I mentioned, like Hrefs or SEMrush. Thinking about things like, does it look professional? Do they look like they're not a guest posting website? Do they look like they're a legit publication or a legit brand that is serious about what they're doing? They're not on a generic WordPress website with the favicon as everything default. They're not on a staging website. Do they have real content that doesn't look like copy paste AI, like just 500 word blog posts and things like that? And if it is all of those things, where it's like it doesn't look like it's been around for a while, or it looks like it's been around for a while and it's got hundreds and hundreds of blogs or whatever, but all the blog posts are written in a really shit way, like a robot's written them, then it's probably not a link that you want to get, right? So a better strategy is to focus on either earning links from reputable websites that are relevant to your industry, or buying them, right? And we might go into that later. So if you're a dentist, partnering with a local health blogger, right, who writes about oral hygiene and and they link back to your website, that makes total sense to Google because they're in the health kind of sector, health industry in general. You don't have to do just dentists, right? You can just broaden your horizon to like health in general, allied health, all that kind of stuff. Basically, you got to make sure that the link is logical to Google and relevant so that they can understand the semantic relationship between your website and theirs. The kind of link not only boosts your SEO, but also builds trust with potential customers as well who might want to follow through from that blogger's website to your website, right? Creates that trust as well. So there's more benefit than just SEO here. And this taps into what we call the concept of authority bias, right? So people and search engines are more likely to trust information that comes from credible, authoritative resources, or sources, I should say. So when your backlink comes from respected websites in your industry, it really enforces your own authority. So instead of chasing any link, just aim for ones that really improve your reputation and align with your business goals. So how do you actually clean up your backlink profile? So you can start by auditing your backlinks using something like SEMRush or Ahrefs or Google Search Console, right? Look for patterns. Are there a lot of spammy directories? Are there a lot of irrelevant blogs, sites that don't look like they've been around for a while, sites with no traffic whatsoever? They're on staging websites and stuff like that. Those are the ones that you really need to address. So for these kind of links, you can actually manually remove them by reaching out to the website owners. This is kind of the generic advice that Google says for you to do before you consider the other option, which is Google's Disavow tool. Now, most SEOs know that most site owners don't respond. And site owners that do respond from these PBNs and things like that will just say, hey, pay up and I'll remove the link for you. Like, it's a total scam, right? It's recommended sometimes to use Google's Disavow tool, but Google is smart enough over the years to understand that a lot of these links are to be ignored in general. So you don't really need to worry about them too much. But if you're inclined to disavow like obvious spammy websites and things like that, sometimes it's a good idea with caution, of course. But basically, this disavow tool tells Google to ignore those toxic links when evaluating your website, right? So if you can think of it like cleaning up your online reputation, disavowing links should only be used as a last resort, though. So think of it like cleaning up your online reputation. Make sure like with disavowing these links, it's your last resort. Like only do it when you absolutely think that that link needs to be removed, but know that Google's smart enough to like kind of ignore it already. And John Mueller from Google has said this a lot. And you can go and look at resources online. There's a lot of for and against disavowing in the SEO community. So this is something like I use with caution as well. Sometimes if a client requests, we might do it. But I know oftentimes many of the links aren't. It's a big waste of time because sometimes there's thousands and thousands of backlinks that you have to comb through, and no one has the time of day to actually go through one by one and vet all these. And that's why Google is smart enough to ignore a lot of these things anyway. And you can go check that out as well. But make sure that you audit your backlinks. Make it a regular habit every now and then if you're considering to use Google's Disavow tool, because it's a lot easier to like catch these things and fix the problems early on, so it doesn't look like someone's like using negative SEO on your website as well, which can happen. But again, use it with caution with this Google Disavow tool. So as you know, SEO is kind of like a marathon. You can't expect to buy links overnight and just get thousands of them and they're all high quality and then suddenly you're in the top 3 search results of every single commercial page that you have. You're not going to rank number 1 overnight. It's a long process. And I think a lot of people who don't understand SEO kind of think this way, and they quickly learn or slowly learn that this is not the case at all. And it's kind of building a relationship with Google. So buying links, especially from these spammy directory websites, like if you are ever considering, ask them what quality links they're going to send you, like examples of them, etc., and be very critical on which links you accept or buy. And that's why I recommend going with a professional SEO agency who only focuses on link building, right? Because link building in and of itself is a very, very long process. So, there are agencies dedicated to just link building. That's why I don't do it. I don't do link building because it's like it takes ages. And, Google is constantly improving how they, detect manipulation in the algorithm. So strategies that worked yesterday could land you in trouble tomorrow as well. And that's something that happens a lot as well with the recent updates that we're seeing this year. But by taking the time to build a really strong ethical backlink profile, then you're setting yourself up for more sustainable growth and you're going to be found in search engines a lot faster when you're very calculated in that way. So you just got to build trust with Google and search engines. And, it also looks good on you from your potential audience as well. Those who ever want to check you out won't have anything really critical to say about you and your brand as well that you're trying to manipulate search engine rankings, because it's all public information when using tools like Hrefs and SEMRush and things like that. All right, so that's everything for today. Toxic backlinks can feel like a really big trap, and the good news is it's totally fixable once you know what to look for and how to handle them, especially with Google's Disavow tool. So the biggest takeaway here is to stay really proactive, regularly audit your links, focus on quality over quantity, and don't be afraid to clean house when needed, when you absolutely think that you need to get rid of some of these backlinks and disavow them. You need to keep your website really healthy with its backlink profile so that you're setting yourself up for sustainable growth through search engines. So if this episode helped clear things up or gave you some clarity or something to think about, make sure you subscribe. Don't miss out on future episodes. And if you've got any questions or want to share your own experiences with backlinks, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about them. And until next time, see you in the next episode. Cheers.